would like to give you a piece of advice, viewer. Advice that I know most of you will say needn't be said. Something you're all perfectly aware of. And yet I still think it needs to be repeated regularly because every time we do, there'll be at least one person listening who badly needs to hear it. Are you ready? If you're not having fun, you can stop. Obviously this is about video games, but it came to mind thanks to the New York Times crossword app, which is only video game adjacent at best. See, until recently, I made a daily habit of doing the New York Times crossword, as well as the Wordle and the connections puzzle and the spelling bee and everything else the crossword subscription gets you. In fact, I'd clocked up a streak of over 600, almost 2 years of doing the crossword every single day without fail. But an evening rolled around recently when it was close to bedtime and I realized I'd forgotten to do the crossword that day and was in danger of losing my streak. But in what felt like a sea change moment, I simply decided not to. I had other things I wanted to do with my precious free time, like decompress, veg out on the couch, maybe eat some jam on toast. So I didn't, and watched my 600 streak reset to 0, the work of a year and a half gone straight down the plug hole. And for some reason, my first feeling was one of enormous relief. Somehow the breaking of the streak brought a lot of things to the surface, most importantly the revelation that I wasn't really enjoying doing the crossword anymore. I like puzzles because I like exercising my intelligence, but I suppose my feeling was, after 600 days, that I had proven whatever I thought I needed to prove. Besides, I'd beaten it so often and reliably, the New York Times crossword wasn't intellectually stimulating anymore, not with how often it reuses filler. 3 letters, V for Vendetta actor Stephen, which of course is a trap because it could be either Stephen Fry or Stephen Rea. I've lost count of how many times they pull that shit out. I've actually started doing the cryptic crossword on theglobeandmail.com. Those are great for exercising your brain in new ways. I don't even finish them half the time, and they always say it's better to exercise until failure. The point is, it was more self-imposed obligation than amusement that kept me going with the New York Times puzzles, and now that I'm examining it, there are a lot of little underhanded things the app does to manipulate your brain. Like keeping track of your streak, funnily enough. The longer that goes on, the more subconsciously invested you get, until that investment gradually supplants your genuine inherent desire to do it. And other subtle things, like when you fail the Wordle or the connections, the little message doesn't say fail or game over or piss off you big thick twat. It simply says next time, which might sound like a nice civilized sparing of your poor humble ego, but there's also condescension there, and an insidious assumption that there will be a next time. And now we're subconsciously making plans to try again tomorrow to impress a fucking app. This should be a familiar story to a lot of you. It should be no great revelation that the creators of our entertainment are using a lot of sinister tactics to massage our subconscious to keep us coming back, even after the thing we once did to feel good has crossed the line into becoming something we feel obliged to do so we don't feel bad. The same thing that happens with heroin addiction. I'm willing to bet that most of you are now, or have at some point been, in the clutches of some online shooter or MMO or live service of some kind that you've been grinding up stats in for months or years. And if you still find that fun, by all means, there's joy in mindless meditative tasks. But as I say, for those who might need to hear this, for those who might have other things they want to do with that time, you can stop. You have my permission to stop. The worst that can happen is that you'll lose something you've put a lot of work and investment into, and I know that can be heartbreaking, but here's the thing. You're 100% definitely going to lose it at some point. Either now, because of this, or in a couple of years, because the publisher stops supporting the game, or your computer exploded, or because civilization has collapsed, or maybe you'll just get hit by a bus. Whatever the case, all that effort will be for nothing. It is currently for nothing, and always has been for nothing. That's arguably what makes it fun in the first place. Here's another world-beating revelation. Games are supposed to be fun. I think it would disqualify me from the video game enthusiast press career track if video games stopped being fun to me, so I consider it important that they never start feeling like work, which could very easily happen, since my work entails playing video games, criticizing video games, writing about video games, developing my own video games, and writing novels about video games. Kinda surprising I've gotten this far without getting sick of the fuckers, actually. So in much the same way that it's important to have quality time and date nights with your spouse so your entire relationship isn't just handing kids back and forth and arguing over who has to do the shopping, I consider it important to make time to play games just for me, just for fun. To that end, I'm very much glad of my decision to buy a Steam Deck last year. It's meant I've had so much more time to get some quick gaming in on the couch at the end of a long day. I've never liked gaming on the laptop, balancing that little keyboard on my knees and trying not to fat finger 3 keys at once. As I mentioned a few videos back, I was going through Hades 2, but I'm finished with that now. At least I think I am. I got the first ending, and then the ending with the Fates, and then Hecate's story ending, which I assume is the one that was missed by everyone who said the ending sucks, because I feel that was the good one. So I've moved on, and since in my private time killing sessions I tend to gravitate to roguelites for the meditative second screen potential of banging my head against the same thing over and over again, I've been playing the shit out of Mugenics, Edmund Macmillan's new one, and I'd really like to take a moment to figure out why. Why this of all games I have been coming back to evening after evening. I'm questioning it because normally it's narrative that invests me. That's why I was glued to Hades for so long. I still had endings to see and character arcs to tie up, and with any luck, a couple of associated implied nobbing sessions. But Mugenics, while being quite big on nobbing sessions, is pretty narrative light. It was my main complaint. We're never given any intrinsic motivation for breeding cats in our house and sending them in quartets to die in a bizarre, shifting no man's land that can take us from deserts and sewers to the moon and literal hell with no clear explanation of how we manage the commute. And all that aside, I suspect I might be bad at Mugenics. My cats make it home a hell of a lot less often than I'd like. The current bane of my existence is this magic space rock I'm supposed to charge up with 20 fights and then take to a specific boss. But if the cat holding the rock ever gets killed, you have to start the process all over again. And now multiple times I've gotten this thing charged or almost all the way charged and been on my way to the boss when all my hopes are roughly torn from me by a momentary brain fart and 2 bullshit chomps of a giant horrible feces spider who gets 2 turns. But when that happens, I stare blankly for a moment, heave a sigh, and then start assembling my next adventuring party. It often feels like random chance plays the largest role in whether or not success is viable each run, and I was concerned the randomness had sucked me into the gambler's habit of mindlessly pulling on the slot machine lever over and over again. But I don't think that's entirely it. It's that in Mugenics, so much of what you have is ephemeral. Cats are used once, age out, and get sent to science labs. Equipment wears out and breaks down. Only crumbs of permanent progress are made over multiple runs. But what I've discovered is that while success is satisfying, there's also a certain catharsis in failure, in losing something we've put a lot of effort into. Exactly the same kind of catharsis I felt after I lost my New York Times crossword streak. Yeah, see, I was bringing this back around to a point. Here's one last incredible revelation for you. It would be a very bad idea to pile up all your money and possessions and set fire to them. That would reflect very poor long-term decision-making ability. But at the same time, a part of you would feel relief, a sense of unburdening yourself. I mean, your taxes are going to get a lot simpler now. And as with so many other things, we can use video games to gain a simulation of that feeling without having to actually harm ourselves. I guess what I'm saying is, I can recommend it as a feeling. Try it yourself. Give something up. Stop caring. You might be surprised how good it feels, especially if you find a way to stop caring about current events in global politics. Do get in touch if you find a way to do that, because all the methods I've considered in some way revolve around substance abuse.
This video is brought to you by Game Maker, the friendly indie game engine built for beginners and professionals alike. Making your own game can seem like a daunting venture, like trying to eat a movie theater hot dog in the dark. But thanks to Game Maker's project-based learning resources, even a novice can create games from start to finish, increasing their coding proficiency along the way. The Game Maker YouTube channel hosts a variety of step-by-step guides to help you craft your first RPG, platformer, puzzle game, and more. You can also find written tutorials on the Game Maker website. Reference the Game Maker manual for additional tips and tricks, or consult fellow devs in the Game Maker Discord server and at community meetups. Why, it's just like adding glow-in-the-dark mustard to that sneaky little hot dog. Whether you're an experienced programmer or just starting out, Game Maker has all the right resources to make sure you relish your game development journey. Head on over to the link in the description and bite into game making today.